I'm honored to be here today. I want to thank our Morris County friends for hosting. We met a couple of weeks ago, I guess, at McCarter and English at a sort of an open lunch roundtable, and the world has gotten a little crazy since then. But I'm honored that that I could be here today. I'm joined by some of my colleagues, Adam Alonzo, Matt Platkin, and Mike Delamater are over in the corner. They look like extras from a Quentin Tarantino movie at the moment. I won't say which one. Great to be here. I was going to give you a little bit, just 30 seconds on the race, a minute on my personal biography, and a couple of minutes on how I see the state, in particularly from the economic lens, which is what Marcus and I had spoken about. You've done pretty darn good on the biography side. There's not a whole lot you left out. I'll drop in a couple of other points on that. But on the race, the election is next year, so it's a June 6th primary, and the general election is November of next year. At the moment, I am the only Democrat announced candidate. I don't think it'll stay that way. I think it'll still be a competitive primary, as I suspect it will be on the Republican side. As you likely know, it's an open seat, as Governor Christie is term limited. So this will be, we'll have a new governor in January of 2018. Notwithstanding a very good couple of weeks on our side, I recognize I've been in and around politics for a long time. You have good weeks and bad weeks. We had a good one last week. We take nothing for granted. My schedule hasn't changed a lick, notwithstanding the endorsements that we got last week from 11 counties and 3 large public sector unions. So we're still out there trying to earn it every day, trying to listen as much as we speak. I'm a Murphy, that's hard. But we are trying still, and particularly I mentioned my colleagues, Matt Platkin may want to raise his hand. Matt is the head of our policy area, and we're trying to do as much as we can in the area of policy, frankly, as a priority over politics. And so we'll continue to do that. We announced our candidacy in the middle of May, so we've been out there for about 22 or 23 weeks at this point. Again, the only candidate on our side of the aisle. There's not much more I would add to my biography other than perhaps to say, to bookend, make 2 comments on my life as a kid and our family today. I also want to thank Pete Camerano, an old friend who helped connect me here today. Pete, thank you for your help here as always. I should say Mayor, Mr. Mayor. Treat you with the proper respect that you deserve. I grew up, like so many of us, with nothing. You know, my dad didn't get out of high school. I was born in Boston. Please don't hold that against me. Born in Boston, grew up just outside of Boston. My dad didn't get out of high school. My mom did. She made sure we went to college. I was the youngest of 4. And my dad made sure that we were aware of politics and civic responsibility. And so both of those things stuck with us. My big brother has long passed away, but I've got a sister who just retired as a Boston City school teacher and another who was a psychiatric social worker. And when we see each other, which is rarely these days, we go back to how we were brought up. And one of the observations that we make is that we had nothing. You know, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. I think you'd call us working poor. My dad and mom always worked, but we didn't have any money. We keep coming, my sisters and I keep coming back to the notion that even though we didn't, the deal was, growing up, I'm 59 years old, so I would say just pick when I was 10 years old, which is 1967, that you may not have any money, but if you went to school, you worked hard, you got good grades, you stayed out of trouble, you'd get ahead. You'd do better than your parents did. That was sort of the America that I grew up in. And I don't know that that's a statement you can put in the bank today for too many 10-year-old kids in New Jersey today whose families are hanging in the middle class by a thread. Middle class on a good day is the way I would put it. So for all the things I've done in my own education or as an adult, the most important chapters are the bookends, the way I was brought up and the way we're trying to bring our 4 children up. As Marcus said, we've got 4, Josh, Emma, Charlie, Sam. They're all teenagers, 19, 17, 15, and 13. So if nothing else, please keep me in your prayers. They give us, I was literally walking in here. It's always something, as you all know if you've got kids. But we're trying to instill in them the same ethos that my wife Tammy's parents instilled in her and my mom and dad did in me, which is there's a bigger drama here. Service is a noble calling. To help and your fellow man is something that we want to have on a pedestal and make sure that they've got that on a pedestal as well, even though they're growing up admittedly in far different circumstances than either Tammy or I grew up in. Other than that, you got the biography, nailed it right in the head. A couple of observations on the state. I begin with the economy in terms of almost every discussion I have. I just came from speaking to a group of Latino community activists, electeds, ministers in Trenton. I begin with the economy because unless we get the economy right, we won't get New Jersey right. And we can forget about all the things that we think we need in our society unless we get that right. And so that's the policy area that we view as center stage. It's the one area that I've spoken most about. It's the one area where I've given a formal economic policy vision speech about a month ago at NJCJI in Newark. And first, to diagnose where we are, I always, in my mind's eye, draw a quadrant. Above the line, an economy is growing. Below the line, it's not. On this side of the line, it's fair. On this side of the line, it's unfair. We're in that box you don't want to be in. Our economy is as flat as a pancake and profoundly unfair. And so the job of the next governor is to both grow it and make the economy fairer again. And I believe that is urgent job number one. And I'd be quite critical of our current governor's stewardship of the economy in either of those metrics, either its growth or its fairness. And I would also say that a lot of what ails us in this state is not, while I may be critical of him and his administration, a lot of the stuff has been a long time coming. I chaired, as Marcus said, the original commission on pension and health care benefits back in 2005, which is where Pete and I first met working with Governor Cody. And the pension crisis had started to unravel in the 1990s. So these issues, property tax challenges, are not new in the past 6 or 7 years. They've been brewing for a long time. I think we grow our economy on the back, on the shoulders of two pillars. One is to reclaim our space in the innovation economy, the so-called STEM economy, which very much includes healthcare. We were Silicon Valley before there was a Silicon Valley. And that's a fact. We had Bell Labs, Sarnoff Labs, AT&T, the healthcare, bio, life sciences industries. New Jersey had a corner on all of that, and it's let a lot of it slip, particularly on the technology side. Interestingly, a lot of it has slipped away to other, what folks refer to as other high-cost locations, such as Boston, where I grew up, or San Francisco. So we know they're not going there because it's cheaper to do business or cheaper to live there. Those might be the two places in the country that are more expensive. It's hard to believe that there are places more expensive to be than New Jersey, but they may be the two places that are. They're going to those places, and Boston is the one I know the best, because of the whole economic or the whole ecosystem that's been built up there. I note with interest that General Electric made the decision after a lengthy review process of everywhere in the United States to move their global headquarters to Greater Boston. If you peel back as to why they did it, they got some sort of a fair tax deal. And who wants to raise your hand if you want to pay more taxes than you have to? No one wants to. So you want to have a fair value, a good value for money. But they went up there for far more than that. They went up there for the whole, as I say, the ecosystem, the communities in which millennials want to live, the emphasis on institutions of higher education, in particular in research and development in the technical fields, the quality of the public schools, the 21st century infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, I get it. I know I pay a premium in a place like Boston, but boy, do I get a lot back from that. New Jersey, on its best days, used to be able to claim that same space, and we can no longer claim it today. In fact, we chose, my wife is from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm from Boston. We chose New Jersey. We fell in love with New Jersey. We're still in love with New Jersey to raise our 4 kids here. But we didn't come here because it was a low-cost location to live. You knew you paid a premium, but you got a good basket of stuff back for that premium. And we bought our home here in 1998, as Marcus said, in Monmouth County. Since then, as we all know, the premium keeps going up, and the basket of stuff back we get is shrinking. Greater Boston has figured that equation out. Again, it will never lay claim to be a low-cost place to live or do business, but it's got good value for money. There's no reason we can't have a dog in that fight.